Hey guys, welcome back. In the previous video we saw how we can use @builder annotation uh, to have fluent method chaining, and we use method chaining to basically create a valid instance of booking body, which is what we then used in our test class. Now one typical thing that you will see while creating test is not only you want to have like valid instances of data, but you would also want to mutate those data in your test to be able to have different kind of test variations. Now a thing with using builder pattern is it helps you give valid instances using method chaining, but if you want to mutate it again, you can mutate it using this @data annotation, but you cannot another cycle of method chaining, inside a test. To demonstrate this, let me copy this particular test, and what we will do is we will write down the test that assert that user can create new booking uh, by uh, by providing only mandatory fields. So what I'm going to do is, once we get this booking instance, I want to basically set the additional needs field to null, right? And imagine if there are multiple optional fields. Like in this particular case, we only have one optional field, which is this. Let me just run this. So in our case, this is the only optional field that we've got. If there are multiple fields that were optional, then you would also want to do like something like this to set those fields as well. But as you can see, you cannot do that here. And the reason is, if I put a dot here, you see all these methods are returning void because they're no longer coming from builder pattern. They are now coming from @data annotation. So what you want to do is, we want a mechanism that not only can set one field, but if we want to set multiple fields, we should be able to do that fluently. So the way you can do it is, if you go back to booking body class, you have to add something called @accessors annotation, and if you give bracket, it gives you all the option that it can accept, and it says chain by default is false, but we want it to be true. So this is the option that we want, and you will see that once you add this option, then even after this method, even after this object was created using builder pattern, you will be able to now have methods which would not return void, but would return this instance of the object. This is exactly what you want, right? So if I run the test now, let's see how it goes. So as we see, we put additional needs to null. The status code is still 200. Okay. And it is returning the responses additional needs null. Now, even though we saw like how you can mutate the already created object using fluent method chaining, we still see another problem. There is a field that we don't want to set, and instead of like skipping this field, it is showing it as null. And in this particular case, the application is able to handle null as an input, but there are applications which will crash if you try to pass null as an input to one of the fields. So in the next video, we will see how to skip these null values. Like if you put null as a value, we will see how we can skip it in the input so that it does not show back in the output, right? So that's it for this video, and then I'll see you guys in the next video.